Hello again. On our last video, I talked about virtual data rooms and using this data bundle as a possibility in accomplishing that task. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about calculating domain 2. For this exercise, we are only going to use our math sheets to calculate this. However, we do have to unhide a couple of sheets from that are currently hidden. Um, as you remember from the last video, if you click on view, go to your hidden sheets. There are some that you don't need to mess with, but today the first one we're going to unhide is 2i. Let me pull that up and show you what this looks like. What this is this gives us our student's name, our score from last year, and then we'll be inputting our current benchmark scores. Then we have a group here, a grouping number here. Please notice that this is not very important for right now. This is more for our calculations, for the computer's calculations. So you can just ignore that for the time being. The second thing, once again, you're going to go to View and Hide once again. You're going to go to 2ii, and here, and this is our math results. Now this here, you really don't have to. There's an easier way to read this. However, I'll show you that more here in a bit. But there are some information that you'll need once this information is pulled out. This is just the number of tests that earned you 0 points, the number of tests that earned you half a point, and the number that earned you a full point. This will give you the total number of points earned. This is important if you're calculating your growth measure across your campus. But for this, what you'll end up needing the most for each grade level for their domain 2 score is this academic growth score here, and this will push out, once we feed in information, it'll push out your domain 2 score. So let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to go back and revisit just some of these portions here. The first thing you have here is your quiz tracker, and we can input our domain 2 scores here. And remember, for domain 2, an 82 is an A, and scaled 75 is a B, so that's good to know there. The second thing here is that you'll have this information here, and let's say this is our most recent assessment, but we've just taken a new assessment and we want to calculate domain 2 scores. So what we'll do is pretty simple here, is we'll just right click and we're going to duplicate this slide. Now when we duplicate this slide, you're going to have a copy of 2D and then of course the rest of the title there. What I like to do is I'm going to change the title of this. So I'm just going to change this to 2E because this is next. And then we can revisit any grouping that we'd like from the course of the year. But after I do that, I'm going to delete this here. And this lets me know that this is, if we were taking, this would have been my March benchmark. So that's pretty simple. Then I leave that. Now for me, I like to hide the sheets that I'm no longer in use of. And then of course my teachers know how to go back and access those. But I'm just going to go ahead and click here on a hide this sheet. That way there's less for me to be working with. So this is back to our sheet. And now this is 2E. This is the one we're going to create it. In order to create a new document here, or a new grouping list, I'm just going to highlight these. Please ignore this part. This is just so I don't have to go in and put in scores for every student to show you how this works. But what you're going to do is, let's pretend I didn't do that and I come to this sheet after I had just created it. I am going to just delete all of this information except for the header. So I'm just going to delete this information here. So I'm going to delete this information here and have nothing here. Okay, so now this is ready for me to go and calculate my growth measure using this sheet here. It's pretty simple here. What I want to do here is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just start inputting my grades, whatever my students score. And I'm just going to do this quick here, just so you can see how it works. And that's not right. That's more like it. You know, some of these just don't come out the way you want them to. But we'll say, just for the sake of this argument, I go and I hand put all of this information here. What I'll do then is I'm just going to highlight this information here, just as such, all the way through the bottom. I'm just going to copy that information. I'm going to go over to my next groups here in this information. Now I'm just going to paste it. And what this does, this creates my new listings of groupings that I need for that tell me my benchmark or my domain 2 score. What I'll do then next is I'm just going to go sort A to Z. That would not be good, but let me kind of show you what this would look like here. Okay, so this here would just tell me that all these students here in red, much like in our last video, did not get something. They went from masters to approaches, and they didn't get us a point. And that gives us our new intervention groups. But the next thing I'm going to do now is take a look at here 2DI, and that gives me a 54 domain 2 score. If I were to scale that, let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm just going to go to TEA scaling tool. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to make sure that I am on domain school progress, academic growth. I'm going to put in my 54. I'm going to compute my score, and that not good at all, 55. Remember, for a B is a 75, and then an A is 82. Of course, this is just a quick example. This, of course, hopefully our scores would be better than that, and that's just me, calculating real quickly or just pasting random scores into random students. So that doesn't give a score that we'd like, but it's that simple. Now, after that, I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to hide these sheets because we don't really need those anymore. Before I hide this sheet again, I am just going to delete these scores here because we don't need those anymore. And then this stuff is already saved. And let me show you here in a second. I'm going to hide this sheet. But here our information is still there. So this is our information. This gives us access of who we need to focus on, what we need to do as far as creating our intervention groups, who gave us a point, who gave us half a point, and who gave us no points as far as the progress measure. If I was going to go ahead and calculate this, I would go into Math Quiz Tracker, I would put my 54 there, and then I'd move on. That's how we do, so that's how you can use this math bundle to calculate domain 2 quickly, find your score, and more importantly, find your intervention groups of where you need to go back and find the gaps in learning, gaps in concepts, and revisit those with students, revisit those in teachers. One thing that I pointed out, I did all this for you today, but for when I open up these windows, let's say if I was going to open up this window again on our next assessment, I give teachers a time frame to go back and put in all this information. Once they put in this information, just because my sheet's not protected and I don't want to mess up formulas and whatnot, I let them know, look back in a day or so, and your new math groups will be created. And now let's talk about what that they didn't understand in our PLCs or whatnot, and what do we need to go back and revisit so that our scores look much better on our next interim assessment. So that's how I use this platform to calculate domain 2. As I said, it's a little bit more complicated process, but once you get it down, it really is quick and simple. A few clicks here and there, and you have a new domain 2 score. Not only do you have a new domain 2 score, but you have created for you intervention groups that you can plug in right away and revisit concepts that students just didn't grasp. That's it for this video. Once again, if you like this idea, just shoot me a text or an email, and I can walk you through setting this up on your campus so I can share this file with you. And as I said, just a quick way to calculate domain 2 and then get into the business of instruction. Thanks again for watching, and once again, reach out if you have questions.